Hey Rebels, my name is Matthew Barton, and I'm the host of the Rebellion Brewing podcast. The last few weeks, some people have been going out and protesting against lockdown orders as a violation of their fundamental freedom to go get a haircut. These people are the predictable and regrettable outcome of a faction in society that has abandoned reason, sanity, and the collective good. This story, no matter where you sit on the fence, is designed to make you angry. Whether you think your civil liberties are being violated or you think people should be socially isolating to prevent the spread of a disease with no known cure or vaccine, this story is designed to make you outraged and angry. It drives clicks, it drives views, it captures an audience to sell you to advertisers. Perpetual outrage makes it easy to miss the real stories, the great stories about haircuts. One campaign, called Shave It for Shelters, has inspired men and women in our community across the province to shave their heads in a bid to raise money for youth shelters. These shelters are a critical service. They offer a safe place for young people who might have nowhere else to go, and that need is so much greater during a crisis like COVID-19. Today's guests are Dustin and Braden from the Street Culture Project. They shaved their heads to help raise money for its shelters in the city. So let's get into it. Dustin, Braden, welcome to the show.
That was a great intro, Matt. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks very much. Excited to be here.
How's it going?
Really good. As good as it could be in the situations that we have at hand. We're holding it together. We got amazing staff, great people around us. It's definitely not without its challenges, and preparing for some future, scary situations. But all in all, I'm really impressed with who we have working with us.
Tell me a little bit about Street Culture. What is it you guys do?
Well, Street Culture Project is a community-based agency. We work on personal and professional support for youth throughout the community. Our 5 main priority areas are housing, education and employment, mentorship, health and well-being, and community safe communities.
If I was 6 years old and I had never heard of Street Culture before, what does that mean? You help people?
Yeah, I guess if you were 6 years old, I would say, well, Daddy helps people in the community and works with awesome people around him that do the same and really care about the better good of everyone. I don't know if that helps or not. But also, so we basically have 8 different locations throughout the city. 5 of those locations are residential or shelter facilities, and we have a bunch of outreach programs that just basically support anyone in need and our society's most vulnerable.
What is Shave It for Shelters? Where did that come from?
Well, actually, it was Braden and I who were just sitting around, not socially distanced one night, and I was like, I need an oil change bad, which is usually what I call my haircuts, because anyone who knows me knows it's usually pretty greased up. The guy I usually go to obviously is not working right now, and I just kind of said, screw it, I'm just going to shave it. And I think it was Braden that said, well, we should do a campaign of that. And then I said, oh, actually, that's not a bad idea. If we so many people are not getting their dues done right now, there's probably a couple extra dollars. I know everyone's having a tight time right now, but maybe just putting those dollars towards the people that on the front line that are working throughout the community. Oftentimes we hear a lot about healthcare workers, truckers, grocery store workers. Rightfully so, they're all heroes for sure. But there's not a lot of advocate or acknowledgement of shelter workers or people who go out and are basically providing healthcare to society's most vulnerable. So no, it wasn't only about bringing in money, but also awareness.
So shelters aren't closing during this time?
No, shelters are not closing. So the cool thing about Shade for Shelters is that it wasn't strictly a street culture thing we were trying to bring awareness to or funding for. So we also we got good partners in the community, YWCA, Waterston, Souls Harbor, and Carmichael. So basically, realistically, the goal of 5,000 isn't going to make a huge indent in what we're trying to do, but $1,000 each, and just the community awareness was the goal. But I forget your original question. Yeah, shelters are not closed down by any means. We actually have daily meetings as a community over Zoom. The shelters that are still operating and the community organizations that are still operating, and how we can kind of support each other and work together, and who's offering what service. And the one offshoot about this whole terrible situation is that there's been a lot of collaboration that came out of it.
So you guys are now maybe working more closely together as organizations providing similar services?
Yeah, for sure. Just the basic needs of the community still have to be met. There's a lot of vulnerable people out there, so we can't meet in person. So yeah, we've been doing an awful lot of Zoom calls, and just so everybody is able to fill in the gaps that others can't, so nobody kind of gets left out and overly vulnerable.
You've probably encountered tons of people through your time with this work. Is there a particular person or story that stands out? You know, maybe you drop by the tap room to have a beer, you say, hey, I helped out this kid today, or we worked with this great kid today.
Well, the cool thing is like that we are really focused on long-term involvement and like never actually closing the door on anyone who's in need. Oftentimes, obviously, youth make choices that sometimes affect their which program they're offered, or who, you know, their limitations around what services we can provide. But once they decide that they want to try again, it's always, the option's always there. So a lot of our participants have been, you know, the 3, 5, even 10 year sort of guys. Like just off the top of my head, one guy that works with Braden, he has been through it all, like extremely rough upbringing. I actually met him when I used to run a first time auto theft program, and that was when he was like 15, and kind of started going down the wrong road. He got involved with street culture, did really awesome. Got involved with gangs, did really not awesome. Went to jail, came back, got out, came back to street culture, and now he's one of a fantastic employees of ours who actually mentors youth the same way that he was mentored. So we always find that the best people that youth can connect with are the people that come from the same situation as them. So we don't only hire social work degrees, you know, we have people with vast experience in education backgrounds, and some not even so much education, but strictly experience. So we find that the youth find their own mentors. So we want to offer as many different options as possible.
So it was kind of his lived experience was maybe more real and authentic than somebody who maybe just hit the books.
Oh, absolutely. Somebody who's gone through it and lived the life has way more credibility when we're trying to engage with young people who are going through the same things that they went through, and they have real life examples of how they kind of got out of those circumstances, or the things you need to do living in those kind of circumstances to move past it in a positive way. So we can tell them all day, but it doesn't really mean nothing if you haven't lived it. So those guys are huge.
Well, I know you guys have been a big part of Rebellion. You guys had your guys paint the flower planters. You guys did the patio painting. We have the chalkboard art. I know we've done a lot of face painting events with you guys. It's been a really positive experience to collab, and you have a lot of really great artists too. Where does that come from, the art aspect?
Yeah, that's actually interesting. We kind of, the very early onset of street culture was sort of for those kids who were basically in Vic Park smoking weed all day and who had no real outlets. Like, there was recognition that there was lots of outlets for, you know, sports inclined youth, but not a lot for the artistic or whatever you want to call it, punk rock or hippie or street kid or whatever sort of. That's kind of, it was always composed of misfits and that sort of thing. So early on, the face painting was a huge community engager and fundraiser for us. So we would pay the kids off of the jobs that we would get. It would also be cool because it break down the stigma around those kids to a lot of people, because if they a lot of these kids are usually the ones that they would cross the street and to avoid or whatever. But when they're face painting their 5-year-old and like really engaging and having good conversations, it kind of changes people's perception. Art's always been a really positive tool for engagement. More than the product that comes out of it is the engagement that happens when you're doing it. I originally, when I was in university, started as the mural sort of coordinator, and I would take youth, like troubled youth, just one-on-one all day on a mural setting, and that's where you can do like massive, awesome engagement and mentoring. So it's just that's the tool. The activity is the tool for the relationship development, and then having the more positive influence on them. But we do have great artists, and there's always great things coming out of like ideas of everyone. Like the majority of our programs are flourished from either the kids or the staff's ideas. Braden runs a great employment program right now called WHAM, which I'll plug because if anyone needs, they do construction. We have a journeyman carpenter and electrician and that sort of thing. So they do lots of construction on the job training, and then just basic yard work, dump runs, whatever you name it. It's building skills for those kids and paying them. And it's just a great social enterprise that we're running right now.
So to be clear, individuals or businesses can come to you guys, and you have a crew that has trained, talented people that can come out and lead these kids through a project?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're really diverse in the things we take on, just because we want to get as many young people some paid work experience as possible. We have people with trades expertise and expertise in whatever area we're engaging in, but they will take a youth who doesn't have that experience yet, and probably wouldn't get that opportunity if they applied for a job because of some of their past. And we kind of bypass that door so they don't need that open for them, and they can walk right in with really applicable work experience after they spend some time with us.
Yeah, and a lot of the staff that we actually have in different areas, like the ones that are working at the shelter and that sort of thing, are former youth that we worked with as well. So we've seen lots of kids go to like other jobs or post-secondary education, but always stay connected, which is great. Our homes always leave their doors open, even at Christmas time. The old youth are welcome back because that was their home that they grew up in, sort of thing. But having that, again, it's that experience, lived experience, and mixed with the education, because there is, on the other side of things, there is a whole bunch of awesome, fun government grant writing and meetings and policy development. And especially with this whole COVID crisis, it has been quite the struggle, an interesting learning process of pandemic planning, not only for us, but the community in general.
What do you mean?
Ooh. So basically all these businesses, and CBOs, they're expected to have business continuity plans and pandemic plans, but the COVID crisis pretty much washed out all that plans out the window. Like, as everyone knows, it's kind of just been daily learning new information and what you can and can't do. The reality is, like, we had a very difficult time lining up the expectations around occupational health and safety with Sask Health, with social services. And, in the ideal world, the government's just the government and they'll tell you what to do. But on the ground, that's not how it works. Each individual agency has been sort of had to come up with their own pandemic and quarantine plan. And we, on day to day or hour to hour, we find out why something in that won't work with one of those, departments of authority. I don't know if you want to call it that. But at the same time, I should say that we have great working relationships with a lot of individuals in the government, and we really appreciate what they're trying to navigate through. But it has been difficult to meet expectations without guidance.
Sometimes maybe decisions are made faster than it can be communicated out to from left hand.
Yes, 100%. His left hand does not always know what right hand is doing. And that's in government, that's also in community, that's everywhere. But we have found that this particular pandemic has been really demonstrated the need for more collaboration in general.
Because we've never seen something like this before. We've talked about our own plans as a brewery, as a business, for crisis planning. We're literally talking about making a booklet in case what bad thing could possibly happen, and this was never on our radar. Like, we had maybe the building burns down, or maybe a truck explodes and doesn't deliver any of our product, and it's like, how much insurance do we put on the truck? So if the truck explodes, and then it's like
100%, man. Yeah.
and then a global virus pandemic happens.
Yeah.
So for us, just as a small business, to then imagine what government has to grapple with,
Right.
like school and hospitals, healthcare and law enforcement, like that's a lot of moving parts. And then to plug in CBOs like you guys, who have very complex, many moving pieces. Sorry, I'm ranting,
No, you're
but
right.
I'm saying, like, holy crap, that's a lot of stuff to carry.
It absolutely is, and it's definitely understandable. Like, there's no question about it. It's just that we realize that it has been a very huge challenge for every level of society, and we recognize, the businesses community has been awesome. Like, despite the fact that they're going through such, horrible, in some cases, completely defeating and ending businesses. They have been really great to the community. So I know you guys have done a lot. We are embarking on a new mask campaign. Like, that is the more recent policy that has kind of come out, that the CDC and federal government's saying that it's better for everyone to wear masks. So it's pretty funny because right now we're just having face coverings. So like at our shelter, we have youth that are covering their face in bandanas, whereas that was a huge no-no before. But all of a sudden that's out the window, and we just have to accept that they're allowed to walk around like gangsters or criminals, and our staff have to do the same. But we are partnering with U of R and YWCA and Sophia House and Waterston right now in a community-wide campaign to get masks made, because that's the best way we're going to keep our workers and our youth safe right now.
So you guys finished Shave It for Shelters. The masks is the new project. So if people want to get involved or they want to help out, what can they do?
So I don't want to say we're finished Save for Shelters. We did wrap up the campaign. We did reach our $5,000 goal, so each of those shelters gets $1,000. But it is still open, so we still encourage people to submit their shave its and their bad haircuts, and continue to contribute those money, because we're going to continue to distribute it equally through those 5 agencies. So that was more of a fundraising and awareness campaign, and this is, I guess, an awareness and a mask making campaign. So, but yeah, we are putting our efforts towards this right now, because it is more so than the $1,000 that we're going to get. The masks are going to help keep our staff safe at this point. So
how can they get involved?
Yeah, that is a great question. So it's called Masks You Are Aid. So Masquerade. Never even actually recognized that till now. There you go. That's going to be a funny clip for your viewers. I've been actually working on this for a couple of weeks with the people involved, and I never recognized that. Yeah, Masquerade. Okay, so awesome lady named Michelle Stewart. She works for Integrated Justice and the U of R. She's heading this up. But we are, as community agencies, all involved. So go to Facebook Masquerade.
Okay, I'll get that link from you too, so I
Yes.
can include it in the show notes. Is it going to be on your guys' social media too, if people go to your Facebook page?
It is. Yeah, go to ours too. There's a link for it, or we pin it or something. I'm like the zero person that should ever touch social media, but I think that we got better people smarter than me doing that. So it'll be pinned on or linked on there, and we already have a video out that kind of promotes it. So check that video out too.
Awesome. Let's talk about beer, man.
I love that subject. So yeah.
Today we're dipping into something that's brand new to Rebellion. It's called Michelada. It's kind of our stab at the ready-to-drink category. It's not strictly a beer. It's more like a Beezer, vodka, Caesar beer kind of category. And it's made with Paperback Beverage Co. They're a local company led by Judd Stachowski.
Oh yeah, very cool. Yeah, Judd's great.
Does he do hot sauce too?
I think he does all sorts of stuff. I haven't actually had it yet. I've been saving it just for the podcast.
It's awesome. Well, it feels special. Take a sip.
It's got a very pungent tomato aroma. Spicy.
Yeah, you can definitely get the Caesar vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. Got that zippity zing.
Zippity zing. It's a bit of a shock to the palate to me.
Totally is.
It's nothing I've ever drank before. I don't typically look up clam and beer. I know it's a Saskatchewan thing, but I've never actually gone out and tried it since the first time I tried it at my house with my mom. She's like, "Here, try this," and I was like, "Ah, nah." So
I'm the same way. I go I used to go with friends when that was allowed, and people would order clam and beer, and I was like, that's weird. But to tell you the truth, this is quite delicious, and I would definitely order this over that.
That's got a healthy little kick at the end too, a little spice. It's kind of nice.
I know we based it off a Mexican style, like a very specific Southwest United States Mexican kind of vibe to it. And you'll see like the sugar skulls and the peppers on the label.
The can's extremely cool. Yep.
And kind of line it up with the whole Cinco de Mayo vibe, you know.
Absolutely.
It smells great.
It does smell great.
I think it's really what we've seen. It's been out for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. This was launched last year as a kegged cocktail.
Okay.
We kind of tested it and said, maybe this will work. And it sold very well at the tap room, but it's kind of a harder metric to know how the public will react. Because if you're coming to the tap room, you're probably a beer geek who's into novelty and new flavors and new sensations. Mm-hmm. Oh, that heat's catching up to me now.
Hey, it's got a bit of zang at the end, yeah.
It's like catching up in my throat.
Totally.
That's what you meant by the zing now.
I'm glad I took my Tums today.
So we decided to come back with a bit of a different formulation from that kegged cocktail, and this is it. And it's neat. It's a vegan. It's not. There's no fish. It's a seaweed.
Oh, awesome
for that piece. And we're getting a lot of questions from vegans, and I don't understand why, but it's just happening. People are saying, "Is this vegan or does it have fish?" Maybe whether they have fish allergies or the fish, I have no clue.
Interesting. Well, I think it's great beer to try, especially the summer backyard. That it's getting nicer now. That's a good, nice, refreshing.
This thing tastes like
drink.
Fucking summer to me.
Yeah, totally.
Pardon my French.
Absolutely. Are we allowed to swear on that? We should have talked about that first.
You can swear.
Shit. Now you tell me. I was trying to reserving it the whole time. But...
No. We're a podcast for adults.
Okay, fair enough.
I think, I guess final thoughts on this? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
I give it a thumbs up for sure. Like I said, I'm not usually a clam beer guy, but I would definitely have a few of these in the backyard on a hot day.
Yeah, for sure. Me too. I've never been a beer and clam, but it's a really unique flavor. But yeah, it's on a hot day, it's real refreshing.
When I've been looking online at Untappd and at our initial reviews, it really polarizes people. They get it and they love it, and they're just like, "This is amazing, and I can't wait to have another one. I can crush it all day." And then other people who don't get it or didn't know what they were purchasing are like, "This is the fucking worst thing that's ever been in my mouth," So I think it's really, it feels like it's a whole new world for us because we're entering into a segment of the market that we've never touched before.
Yeah.
And now we're getting introduced to a whole new audience of people who maybe, I don't want to drink IPAs, but I do like this tomato beverage.
Exactly, man. And that's the thing. Like, I'm an IPA guy, and there's lots of people that say, "Oh, I wouldn't touch that with," I was trying to be PG there, but I forgot I didn't have to be.
Krusty's 10-foot clam pole.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say that was definitely not 10 feet, but whatever.
Yeah. No, it's a shock to the palate. I didn't know what I was getting off the hop. I was expecting beer, but it's like, yeah. I can see if you're a clam fan or like a Caesar fan, you'd be all over that.
And it does have that real cloudy kind of reddish color.
It does, eh? I was wondering about the color, yeah.
Yeah, like we've got it in the cans here. We didn't pour it out, But when I've seen pictures, it kind of, if you didn't realize what it was, you'd think it was a fucked up monster.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Dustin, Braden, I want to thank you guys for your time today.
Well, Adam, we want to thank you and Rebellion in general. You guys have always been great to us. We love the partnership in the community, local business, local CBOs. There's lots of cool stuff going on out there everyone might not recognize, but maybe try to check it out and get involved any way you can. Those folks do amazing work every day, big hearts, and put their lives on the line. But we appreciate the community and collaboration that comes with everything that's going on right now.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Woo!
Rebels, thanks for listening today. I'm going to include links in the show notes so you can find more about Street Culture Project, Shave It for Shelters, and Masquerade. If you have any questions or comments about this episode, be sure to join us on our brand new Facebook group page, the Rebellion Brewing Podcast. I'm also proud to let you know the Rebellion Brewing Podcast is an affiliate member of the Saskatchewan Podcast Network. If you enjoyed this show and you're looking for local stories to listen to, be sure to check them out at saskpodcastnetwork.com. There are always brand new beers coming out all the time, and I'm working hard to ensure we feature every single one on every single episode of the show. As always, be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Untapped so you don't miss out on any of those brand new beers. Thank you for joining the Rebellion.